sort of inversion, of the law. That is one aspect of it. Another aspect of it is secret knowledge. Now, one of the things that I've observed that the Orthodox priests receive revelations still in this day. For example, I was watching David Patrick Carey, and he was saying that the Orthodox priests are receiving continuous revelation, and they're receiving revelations about the Iran situation, for example. The battle between Iran and Israel. So this idea of constant revelation, that's going on in the Catholic priests. They get special orders of revelation, and the higher orders. The Pope talks about world events. He gets all these inclinations of what's going to happen. The Holy Spirit like whispered in their ear and all of this kind of stuff. And now the Jewish rabbis, if you look at their laws, they've been getting revelations all the way since the Talmud and the Kabbalah have been developed. They've been getting all sorts of these messianic revelations. You look at the visions of Menachem Schneerson and they have these all these the Gaon, and they have these new orders of revelation. And same thing with the Shia. In the Shia, they believe in the secret Imam. So in Shia Islam and Judaism, in the Messianic sects, and within these orders of Christianity, where they have these extremely rigid hierarchical sects, where the higher priests actually receive revelations. So the book of Revelation has not been closed. Now, as far as Islam is concerned, or certain ideas within Christian teaching are is concerned for certain Christians and Muslims. After Jesus is gone, Book of Revelation is closed. After Muhammad is gone, Book of Revelation is closed. We're not constantly getting revelations from God over what to do about world events. I think that sort of thing is very dangerous.
Just on that note, I want to make sure that I think that's very different than what you're talking about. Am I correct about that? Like revelate. What do you mean by like? I guess
Well,
what
well, we'll see. The higher order of a priest is that receives a more personal revelation, the less personal it is. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Right?
yeah,
The
a
more
lot
it
of
has
times. Explicitly geopolitical. It'll have to do with like it will oftentimes concern things that are that the higher ups within the country are interested in, right?
Mic check, check. Mic check, check, check.
with Peter Heels or whatever the fuck his
Yeah.
name is.
Yeah, that's exactly the same one I was talking about. Millennial, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, because they were basically talking about all these prophecies that like Russian, saints and monks or whatever were talking about. And I know like other people who interpret Revelation within the Orthodox Church, they usually tend to say that most of it's already fulfilled and that we're not supposed to be wasting our time thinking about all these prophecies that might not even happen. So that's something, that seems very questionable when you talk about like the orthosphere is like just all these declarations, all these statements, all this stuff they say that could happen, but then they'll like, turn around and criticize like evangelicals and other Christians for believing in all that bullshit nonsense. But then it's like, oh, well, you're guilty of the same thing yourself. Why aren't you looking in the mirror? Huh? And they'll be like, oh, well, it's not quite like that.
The way that I've perceived it is that the way it looks to me is that almost all these guys, I mean, David Patrick Carey may be the exception in that he came out of like New Age sort of tradition, but they're all converts from something. The vast majority of them are converts from either some sort of evangelical tradition or some sort of Reformed Calvinist tradition. And in both cases, they brought a lot of their former beliefs with them. So they brought a lot of baloney into it, and it doesn't go away now that you're in Orthodoxy anymore.
Right. And then if you question it, they're just like, oh, shut up. You don't want your Jim. That's what Jim Bob will do. He'll be like, you know what? You got no arguments. I haven't heard one single argument from you. Absolutely no arguments whatsoever.
Oh, yeah. Good old Jim Bob. Good old. I still remember his over an hour long temper tantrum about this nobody on YouTube where he refused to have me on his channel while he just sat there and threw a temper tantrum for over an hour while his audience sucked his cock. That was a real eye opener.
We'll just complete.
Yeah, that's the way it is with these with parasocial relationships online. It's all just like a big circle jerk.
By the way.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, and these people have been conditioned,
just
even
sounds like
Psy-Oped, to think that these word games are somehow intelligent. Like, none of this stuff is remotely intelligent. Sitting there and telling you that, well, you don't have any argument against this crazy thing that St. Paisios said about like Turkey and Russia going to war in the future because you can't give an account for transcendental categories and you can't, your paradigm doesn't allow you to answer the problem of the one and the many. Like, there's people out there that are going to listen to that and think, wow, that sounds like really smart. Like, you guys sure owned the whatever your opponent is, but like that stuff is just complete complete pre-lest, to use an Orthodox term.
Right.
Welcome back, by the way.
But that's not an argument dialogue loop. It just sounds like a conversational deflection. I mean, yes, sure, some things are not really an argument, but it's also just not even engaging in the conversation. I mean, I get some people
I'm going to hop on panel with these guys on my cell phone, see if this works.
What do you do when you engage somebody like that? You try to be good faith. And then if they're not good faith back, then you don't have to necessarily go into blood sports or shit like that.
I'm glad you said no, Fogi. Hello to everyone. I had to withdraw from this space because I recognize two folks there who are basically trolls. and I don't have enough on my clock to spare time for them.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. It was you never know when you open up these open panels. It's like fork in the box of chocolates, right?
But Fogy, what you were saying about good faith actors and is this person I'm interacting with, dull or not? Their level to that I like to keep in the front of my mind is that even though we're using the same words, not you and I specifically, but me and one of these interlocutors, you and one of those interlocutors, you may be using the same words, but you're likely not using the same mental dictionaries. And that's why an initial mapping out of language and terms and steelman bypass or forego entirely a lot of wasted time by seeing if they're and not seeing, you can't determine for sure, but at least trying to test if they have a highly, a high Venn overlap with your mental dictionary.
Right. Well, on a personal level, a lot of people I interact with have intellectual disabilities, or at least autism. Because myself, I have an intellectual disability. Although most people don't notice it because I read at a college level. But put me in a room with really smart people. I mean, it's pretty obvious I don't have the same level of vocabulary and language they do.
Nobody is as smart as they think they are. That's the beauty of things. There's
Yeah,
always
that's
someone
true.
a little higher up or different in another dimension. It doesn't detract from your worth as a human being. Your actions
Right.
do that. Right.
But just the people on a personal level, I can't go around acting like a condescending dickhead because, I mean, how's that going to gain any respect?
Not only that, but if you allow yourself to act that way, you will become that way as a default. Much as if, when you feel a lack of courage, if you pretend to that courage, you find yourself then actually channeling real courage, or not channeling, but nurturing, bringing forth, harvesting in yourself that courage, right? So
Hmm.
we
Well,
often become our attitudes.
I've often wondered, because I've never met any of these guys in real life. Like, I wonder what Jim Bob must be like in real life. I suspect there's a reason why he spends all hours of his day online. I can't imagine he's got a very fulfilling social life.
The less time he takes up in our minds, the
That's
Fair
true.
enough. No, it's just as interesting because like these people are now though many of them are now setting themselves up as life coaches. So it's for the sake, some of the relationships and like the red pill and how to talk to women and stuff like that. But it's important given that, there's thousands and thousands of these Inkwell fanboys of his out there. It's important that we figure out, is this stupid crap?
they're almost all certainly Pied Pipers. Now, whether they're malfeasant about that or not, I can't say. Some of them clearly are. Most folks, I think now I understand that term inkwell you're using. I know what you're referring to. The best advice any man could give someone who may use that
Welcome.
label for themselves is this: stop fucking whining and be someone who's desirable, whatever that means. Don't just sit there waiting. Oh, no one likes me. Become someone more likable. Become better. Improve yourself. That's what being a man is. It's what being an authentic human being is. Don't wait and wail. Sit up and do. That's what they honestly need to hear, with some brotherly or fatherly or the friendly compassion, more compassionately put than I just did. I'm just cutting to the chase. But
Yeah, well, I mean,
how has the last 70 years of, oh, it's okay, Billy, here's your participation ribbon, how's that gone for us? Not
certainly,
well.
it's fascinating that these Inkwell types, they always have like some sort of issue with where they were raised, right? Like a lot of them were raised without two parents. A lot of them were raised just with lousy parents that didn't do their job, that weren't involved. And that is definitely something, or or else they were raised on their phones and they don't have any social skills. By the way, welcome Uncle Fatty. I'm gonna keep the stream going for maybe like another 10 minutes or so. I'm actually like busy soonish, so you joined kind of late, but thank you.
Yeah,
always welcome on here. Does anybody
conversation, guys? Great conversation for sure.
Yeah, Uncle Fatty's awesome. Yeah, I've
Good
been
ones.
talking to him for a while. Yeah, yeah, he's a cool guy.
Well,
So Chad
first of
Culture,
all, thanks
I
for
want to
all the-
ask you something because
what's
so
up?
Chad Culture, I wanted to ask you because like the way like a lot of these influencers say men should behave and women are supposed to behave, what's when you were talking about on your last live stream about Zomia, what would be like a good example of masculine behavior and a good example of feminine behavior?
A good example of masculine behavior is actually being a reliable, socially competent, emotionally intelligent, and man who is not afraid to nurture positive relationships with other men, with women, and with children, which is something that is not talked about at all in these red pill spheres, because it's all about like just be dominant, just look out, all that stuff. Like women don't actually find that attractive or a desirable trait. Like just being like this big like peacocking bro who's like Otto, but has nothing lurking beneath that surface level image is stupid, and it's not attractive.
What you're
Can
describing
women find
is
it more appealing if they Oh, sorry.
Oh, you go ahead. I read a silence there. I'll continue when you're done. Go ahead, millennial.
Okay. So do women find it more appealing when a man is humble?
But like this idea of I'm going to project this image of macho bravado, the way that the red pill teaches you to do, like that actually is a signal of deeper level insecurity, and people can read that and they understand.
Bingo.
And chicks see right through it.
If you think in terms of, and here's my tinfoil coming out. If you think in terms of the recent movement to reduce worldwide fertility, right? However, you think that's been prosecuted in different realms. What's one of the best ways to divide men and women from each other? You operate on their evolutionary psychology, the self-effacing, which on an generation of women who are slovenly and slatternly and different strokes for different folks, but to most men, that will just shrivel up your balls right inside. I mean, it might titillate you for a fantasy, but you certainly don't want to settle down with that. So those two extremes are being kind of elevated, idolized in our culture in the West very broadly. And I mean, that might be the master stroke in dividing an irreparable wedge, or I'm sorry, an irremovable wedge between most men and most women in the West.
Yeah,
the
certainly.
easiest
Like
way to divide a people is to introduce nationalism.
Yes, and between men and women,
incorporate it
their
with
deeper
religion.
psychology. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's that, that's a play into the overall theme that this is all about divide and conquer. And from a certain perspective, I've heard divide and conquer preached from the pulpit. It's being preached again from the pulpit, and it's this neo way of prophecy, these new age prophets, that nothing seems to come right, but for some reason they still keep prophesying, and everybody keeps listening to them and buying into this rhetoric, and the symbolism of the boogeyman, this never ending thing, whatever it is, they, them, the others that are coming for you. Meanwhile,
Fear,
you got guys
always
like,
fear.
Oh yeah. So Jim Jordan has been on, coming up on his 8th year hasn't passed any legislation, has his name on absolutely nothing, and is worth $220 million. Right? That's the Citizens United front that is, allowed to put all this money into the system, through Citizens United and the Corporations Are People movement. And those corporations, unfortunately, are owned by rich old white dudes that are extremely racist.
Right.
By the way, thank you, Hank, for showing up. I'm actually going to wrap this stream up in a few minutes, but thank you for coming on. You have anything that you want to say, Hank?
Yes. So I actually went to top of the stream to get any little information. I don't feel the term psychological operation was defined well. It wasn't well defined, and after it's well defined, I would like to feed it other things that are similar, because if something like Islam also came up as a psychological operation, or something like Walmart was turned out to be a psychological operation, it kind of doesn't make a difference whether or not it's a psychological operation, because everything is correct.
Well, I would say specifically when I say psychological operation, I mean that it's being pushed by powerful actors in order to accomplish something very different from what the people that follow it believe it's going to accomplish, right? Like the people that they're being psychologically manipulated because they think that this is some viable political movement that's going to lead to fundamental change towards a better society that they want to see, when in fact, I do not believe that that's the case. I think it's a manipulated movement that's creating the illusion.
As if we called it an influence operation instead.
Yes.
Yes,
because
yes,
Psy-Op actually is propaganda. Just the word propaganda and the word Psy-Op are really, synonymous. That it's not about the information that is contained or the information that they're trying to push or any rhetoric. It's just the fact that it is there. Just the word Psy-Op itself is in the nationalistic religious filter. Now you have, Telegram and other influencing agencies coming in to divide even more through a sense of community, right? It's false community building, where these little false communities are really dividing themselves from the bigger Christianic movement, the bigger religious movements of, just be good people and be better and do good.
Well, there's the big issue, because Christianity on its own always divides itself. If you just let run, there's money barriers. So we need to we just need to make sure everything's not somehow a psychological operation. Otherwise, it's a moot point.
Yeah, JR touched on the first America is that those first 16 words, that we are not going to declare ourselves as a religion. We're not going to declare a religion, therefore excluding all others. 47 of the 53 signers and a couple of Catholics. Out of them, there was 8 different types of Christianity represented. Which one would we have chosen? If we would have done that, my question is, would Scientology or Mormonism even exist today?
Yes.
And I say probably not, really. I say they probably wouldn't. That there would have been some sort of tyrannical movement within a matter of so many years that, my way or the highway type of BS. And that's what we got going right now is this, Nick Fuentes got touched on, our Mexican friend that's the leader of the Proud Boys was touched on, and don't forget Stephen Miller.
You should, if you are a Christian, you should know that just oppression is not going to negate the religion, because Christianity was created under a oppressive system, and it was under Rome. So
I think that's what
just being oppressed is not going to prevent religions from spawning. In fact, it would accelerate them and make them more popular quicker.
Yeah. Well, hey, shout out to all the veterans that died for us to, allowed us to have this conversation today.
Right.
Absolutely.
There you go.
You know, 'cause that's what America's all about, is, you know, one for all and all for one and all that old stuff that we used to think about 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, and that's what's so stupid about the whole Christian nationalist thing too, is because they think that America was founded as a Christian nation, therefore us becoming a theocracy isn't such a bad thing. Because I've heard the argument.
There's no established religion. We've never declared a religion. You know, the first 16 words are the foundation. I mean, James Madison spent his whole life devoted to trying to figure out how we get politics out of religion, and vice versa, but in that order first. Because,
by the way, just not to interrupt, but so based Oracle, I see you're trying to get in. It says I can only let in 6 people at a time, and unfortunately,
here I'll drop out so Base can come in. He's
okay.
I'm gonna dip out as well, and yes, a salute from my heart to all the veterans, all the people around the world that have sacrificed their lives for liberty, for human liberty.
Hoorah.
All right.
Maybe we'll continue this over at TMLs later. But yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Right, welcome, Based Oracle. I'm only going to go for a few minutes longer, but thank you for showing up. Is there anything you'd like to say during this last few minutes?
How you doing, Base?
What's up, Uncle Fatty? Hank? What's up, all?
Hey.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize it was ending. So, I mean, TML just told me, but then I saw the link, so I thought I'd pop on for a minute.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to have you here.
Yeah. As to the topic, I'm sure you covered many points, and it would probably just be opening up a Pandora's box for me to get into it. But broadly speaking, I would answer yes, although I wouldn't say if that was necessarily good or bad within that yes. So affirmation to this statement, there's evidence that the Christian national movement is a psychological operation.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, because, and thank you for coming on, Based Oracle. It is kind of unfortunate that the timing just was such. I mean, I'm kind of busy tonight, so I'd like to keep it going longer. I would, but unfortunately, I'm on a timetable with a lot of these things. But yeah, I'd definitely love to see all of you guys at some point in the near future. We could have another discussion on this topic, actually, or on some other hot topic that's around that's big right now. I guess sort of the closing thing I'd say is it's interesting that I feel like we had a really good conversation in general. Everybody came on. I mean, there was a little bit of attempts to derail it at one point, but I thought it was a really good and really productive and really fruitful conversation. However, I will say one thing is that I still have not yet had a serious challenge yet, which is what I would be interested in. If anybody could possibly do anything to make that a reality. By the way, Neurojack, I see that you're in the back panel. The stream is actually ending within like 1 minute. So, I mean, I'll let you on if you have like one last word that you want to say.
What would be that debate topic?
Yeah, what's the resolution?
Well, I want to host the after party, so people who want to continue the discussion can, because I think we just kind of broached it. So that's what I want to do. I'm going to start it right now. So
awesome. I don't think I'll probably be able to make it. I'll let you know if I am. Yeah, that would be great. No, I think these are really important to us, and I think that we need to maybe, proselytize some about this, like get people involved, get people have these debates, maybe, if you will. And I think that this could be a very fruitful endeavor. So thank you to everybody who showed up. Thank you, Neurojack, for continuing to carry on the torch. If I can show up for like a few minutes during your after party, that I will. Yeah, thank you to everybody who showed up.
Yeah, and I just ask anybody who is interested, please just share the link because I'm a little bit distracted, but I want to keep it rolling because I think there's a lot of people who are just now coming off of other streams and maybe they want to jump in. So you guys can share it, and I'll basically let
Headsman, tailsman out.
not anybody, but almost anybody. So
Fucking heads.
anybody who won't Fed post, they can come on, and I'm happy to hear their opinion. So yeah. But thank you for hosting. I think it's a good discussion, and I'll put that link out, and if people can share it however they want. Thanks.
Well, here we go.
I'm on with this shit.
I hope you've all had a beautiful day today. I know a lot of y'all the day off, so I hope that was blessed.
I'm going to give you 5 different strategies to help get rid of your anxiety. Let's dive in. I have noticed, at least since 2020, it seems like anxiety is on the rise, and it's on the rise, and people are starting to get more anxious, and it seems like children who kind of grew up with cell phones in their hands are a little bit more anxious. And it just seems like to me, and I might be the only one, but I don't think that I am, that people are just getting more and more anxious. And when you And when you look at anxiety, if I were to walk up to each person with something different and a definition behind it, before we start to talk about how to actually reduce it. So when you look at anxiety at its